Canglan Academy finally welcomes its first generation of new students, and Ye Xuan's dream of rebuilding the academy begins to take shape. But peace does not last. With Cangmu Academy moving from the shadows, multiple kingdoms launch an invasion against Jiang Kingdom, turning Ye Xuan's personal enemies into a threat against an entire nation. To prevent an even greater disaster, Ye Xuan travels alone to Ning Kingdom only to discover the true identity of the mysterious woman he once fought. And as war approaches, he begins searching for powerful new allies who may decide the fate of Jiang Kingdom. Now, let us follow the next developments in The First Sword God, Episode 25. The moment the words "Stupid Mo" rang out, the entire area fell so silent that even the drop of a needle could have been heard. Mo Yunqi froze like a statue, wondering what the hell he had just said. He glanced toward Bai Ze, only to find the big man staring back at him with open contempt. Ye suddenly rose to his feet. Everyone, do not mind him. Instructor Mo merely enjoys joking around. Mo Yunqi hurriedly tried to save himself. Right, I was only joking. Ahem. Greetings everyone, I am Mo Yunqi, an instructor of Canglan Academy. From now on, you may address me as Instructor Mo. This examination has 3 trials, and I will be supervising all of them. I hope everyone gives it their best. Hearing this, countless people below immediately wiped the smiles from their faces. Whatever happened, they absolutely could not offend the instructor overseeing their examination. Ye Xuan stood again. The examination begins. The first trial was called Sifting Gold from Sand. Far too many people had come to participate in the examination, and their levels naturally varied greatly. Because of that, Ye Xuan had asked Drunken Immortal Tower and the Zhang royal family to help construct a massive formation at the foot of Canglan Mountain. Its purpose was to test the endurance, or more accurately, the overall foundation of the candidates, and filter out those who were suitable. The instant Ye Xuan finished speaking, an invisible pressure suddenly descended upon the crowd below. At first, nothing happened, but gradually, some people could no longer withstand it. Before long, candidates began withdrawing one after another. At that moment, a middle-aged man and an old man walked forward. Ye Xuan stared at the 2 familiar faces in surprise. They were Li Yu and Zhang Li, the heads of the Li and Zhang clans from King City. Ye Xuan hurried over. 2 seniors, what brings you here? Seeing that Ye Xuan still recognized them, both men became somewhat excited and quickly bowed. Greetings, Head Yi? Ye Xuan shook his head. Please do not be so formal. Just call me Ye Xuan. Back when he had still been the heir of the Yi clan, he had clashed with the Li and Zhang families many times. But he had never forgotten the help Li Yu, Zhang Lei, and City Lord Zhang Nian had given him when he left Qing City with his younger sister. Seeing Ye Xuan treat them so warmly, the smiles on their faces grew even brighter. Li Yu cupped his fist. The 2 of us brought some younger members of our clans to participate in Canglan Academy's examination. Oh? The corner of Ye Xuan's mouth lifted. Which 2? Li Yu pointed toward the distant crowd. Those 2 over there. They both want to join Canglan Academy. Ye Xuan smiled. I cannot show favoritism. Li Yu hurriedly explained. If they cannot enter through their own ability, then it simply means they are not good enough. Zhang Li also laughed. Exactly. They both regard you as an example to follow. The last thing they would want is for you to let them enter through the back door. Today, Qing City had become famous throughout Jiang Kingdom. Everyone who lived there took pride in Ye Xuan. Ye Xuan smiled. Men from Qing City should naturally have some backbone. Seeing Li Yu hesitate as though wanting to say something, Ye Xuan asked, what is it? The head of the Li clan sighed softly. City Lord Zhang Nian has passed away. Passed away? Ye Xuan frowned. How? Li Yu replied heavily. Brother Jiang failed while breaking through to a higher realm. The backlash was too severe to save him, and he died 3 days ago. But according to what we have learned, he may have been murdered. Ye Xuan's brows tightened further. Murdered? Li Yu nodded. It may have been his own brother Zhang Gu. After Brother Zhang died, that man took the position of City Lord and drove Brother Zhang's heir out of the City Lord's estate. If our 2 clans had not stepped in, I fear they would already have died unjustly. Ye Xuan fell silent for a moment before saying, when you return, I will ask the king to send people to Qing City and investigate this matter thoroughly. Senior Zhang Nian deserves justice. The 2 clan heads bowed deeply in gratitude. Ye Xuan could not help feeling emotional. He had not been away from Qing City for very long, yet it seemed the place had already changed beyond recognition. Li Yu hesitated for a while before continuing. Actually, someone from the Yi clan also came to participate in Canglan Academy's examination. Ye Xuan froze. The Yi clan had come as well? Li Yu pointed toward a young woman in the crowd, around 17 or 18 years old. She wore a fitted long dress, with her hair braided into a small plait behind her neck. At this moment, her fists were clenched tightly, her teeth gritted, and sweat covered her forehead. Ye Xuan frowned slightly. She was the granddaughter of Elder Yi Qing. Back when he still lived in the Yi clan, he had met her several times, though they had never been particularly close. Li Yu said softly, The Yi clan is not doing very well these days. Ye Xuan shook his head. I no longer have anything to do with them. Li Yu sighed. The more outstanding Ye Xuan became, the more miserable the Yi clan looked by comparison. By now, they had nearly become a joke throughout Jiang Kingdom. Ye Xuan suddenly said, "Would the two seniors like to come into the hall for some tea?" Li Yu hurriedly waved his hand. No. We will stay here and watch those two brats." Ye Xuan smiled. "That is fine. I still have a few matters to handle, so I will take my leave." Li Yu nodded. "Go ahead." Ye Xuan nodded and left with Ji Anzhi and Bai Ze. Watching his retreating figure, Li Yu sighed softly. He is still a man who values old ties. "Zhang Nian, you can finally rest in peace." Zhang Li nodded. "The choice we made back then was the right one. As for the Yi clan, sigh." Li Yu said indifferently, "They brought it upon themselves. They cannot blame anyone else." Yunqi remained behind to oversee the examination, while Ye Xuan, Ji Anzhi, and Bai Ze returned to Canglan Hall and sat around a table. Ye Xuan looked toward Ji Anzhi. "I have asked Drunken Immortal Tower to find a group of cooks. I will leave them under your management." Ji Anzhi immediately nodded. "All right." Bai Ze suddenly asked, "Bandit Yi, should we hire people to handle the students' daily needs as well?" Ye Xuan shook his head. "No. Things like washing clothes and taking care of themselves should be handled by the students. They are here to cultivate and study, not to enjoy themselves." Bai Ze thought about it. "That makes sense." Ye Xuan continued, "Old Bai, several learned scholars will be arriving shortly. Their cultivation may not be impressive, but their knowledge is extremely deep. You must receive them properly. I will also tell stupid Mo to make sure the students show them respect. Anyone who refuses will be expelled immediately and will never be accepted again. And that rule does not apply only to the students. The four of us must respect them as well. There can be no disrespect." Bai Ze nodded. "Understood," Ye Xuan said softly. "On the path of cultivation, the first thing one should cultivate is one's humanity. That is true for the students, and even more so for us." After hesitating for a moment, Bai Ze asked, "Bandit Yi, do you truly intend to turn Canglan Academy into the greatest academy in the Qingtang world?" Ye Xuan nodded firmly. "If we are going to do it, then we will do it all the way." Bai Ze looked at him. "Fine. If we are doing it, then we do it all the way." Ji Anzhi merely looked at Ye Xuan without saying anything. In the blink of an eye, midnight arrived. Every candidate had completed the examination. 42 of them had passed all the trials. Before Canglan Hall, Yunqi led the 42 new students in front of Ye Xuan and the others. They bowed together and shouted, "Greetings, head!" Ye Xuan nodded lightly. "Now that you have entered Canglan Academy, each of you must learn to rely on yourselves. We do not yet have a complete set of academy rules, but they will be established soon. At present, the only cultivation instructors are the four of us. In the future, we will recruit more capable instructors. For now, you will have to make do with us." Many students below could not help laughing. Ye Xuan looked toward Bai Ze. "Have those scholars arrived yet?" Bai Ze was about to answer when three figures appeared in the distance. Two were elderly men. The third was a woman in a black dress sitting in a wheelchair. Ye Xuan immediately recognized her. It was Lu Juje, the national scholar. After a brief moment of surprise, he hurried forward. National scholar Lu Juje smiled. "What? Am I not welcome?" Ye Xuan shook his head with a smile. "Of course you are. But are you certain you want to become an instructor at Canglan Academy? I should warn you in advance, the salary is not very high." Lu Juje smiled softly. "That does not matter." She extended one slender hand and introduced the two old men beside her. These two are Senior Mo Yuan and Senior Feng Lan. Both are masters of scholarship. Ye Xuan quickly called his three companions over to greet the two men. Their respectful attitude brought smiles to the two elderly faces, and both scholars cupped their fists in return. Ye Xuan smiled. The two seniors and National Scholar Lu will be responsible for the students' daily academic studies. What you teach will be entirely up to the three of you. Mo Yuan studied Ye Xuan. "This old man has a question." Ye Xuan smiled. "Please ask, Senior. Why teach scholarship at all? As far as I know, both Cangmu Academy and Canglan Academy abandoned such studies hundreds of years ago." Ye Xuan thought for a moment before answering. Strength is extremely important in this world, but strength alone cannot determine what kind of person someone is. How a person treats others and conducts themselves in the world matters as well. Mo Yuan nodded repeatedly. "An idea like yours is truly rare, very rare." Ye Xuan cupped his fist toward the three newcomers. "Canglan Academy has only just been rebuilt. There are still many shortcomings. If our hospitality is lacking in any way, please forgive us." Mo Yuan shook his head. "Those things are trivial. What concerns me is the matter of books." Ye Xuan smiled. "Do not worry. I have already asked Drunken Immortal Tower to collect all kinds of books. When they arrive, the three of you will have full authority over them." Mo Yuan gently stroked his beard. "That would be excellent." Ye Xuan led the three before the students and said sternly, "These three seniors are instructors of Canglan Academy. They will be responsible for your academic education. They will also hold examinations. If you fail twice, you will be expelled from the academy and will never be accepted again. Academic studies? The students below stared blankly. Ye Xuan looked at the students again. Any objections? If you have one, come out and fight me one-on-one. Everyone, Mo Yunqi's mouth twitched. This bandit. Seeing that no one dared say anything, Ye Xuan nodded and was about to continue when a laugh suddenly interrupted him. We have an objection. Everyone turned. 4 people were walking toward them. The leader wore an expensive outer robe and held a folding fan. A polished piece of white jade hung from his waist. He studied Ye Xuan for a moment and laughed. So the head of Canglan Academy is a blind man. Tsk, tsk. You just asked whether anyone had a problem. Well, I do. Ye Xuan suddenly vanished. In the next instant, he appeared directly in front of the man. The newcomer's expression changed, and he had only begun stepping backward when a sword pierced straight through the center of his brow. The other 3 were horrified. Ye Xuan withdrew his sword and said coldly, "You have a problem? Sorry, I do not want to hear it." Every student stared at Ye Xuan in silence. Was their academy head not being a little too ruthless? Mo Yunqi and Bai Ze, however, remained completely calm. They were already accustomed to Ye Xuan's straightforward nature. If someone treated him well, he would repay that kindness. But if someone became his enemy, he could kill them without blinking. Not far away, Mo Yuan and Fenglan silently watched. Ye Xuan put away his sword and looked toward the remaining 3 men, who were retreating with pale faces. He had killed someone just like that? Was this a joke? More importantly, he had simply killed him without hesitation. The 3 men were so frightened their limbs had gone weak. Ye Xuan asked, "Do the 3 of you have any questions?" He was not a bloodthirsty madman, but when dealing with people who clearly carried malicious intentions, it was better to eliminate the danger before it could grow. The 3 looked at him warily. One of them said in a low voice, "The 4 of us are from Chu Kingdom. We came here to confirm whether our 3rd prince died at your hands." "A prince of Chu Kingdom?" Ye Xuan frowned. He quickly remembered the man in silver armor. Then he nodded. "Yes, is there a problem? A problem?" The 3 men shrank back. They no longer dared act arrogantly or threaten him. They turned and hurriedly tried to leave. "Wait!" Ye Xuan called after them. Their expressions changed as they turned around. Ye Xuan pointed at the corpse on the ground. "Take him with you." None of them dared say another word. They hurriedly lifted the body and disappeared. Ye Xuan then turned toward the students. "Study hard. Cultivate seriously." After giving those instructions, he left as well, leaving the students staring at one another in stunned silence. Fenglan shook his head slightly. "His killing aura is too heavy." Lu Juge disagreed. "Senior Feng, you are mistaken." Fenglan looked toward her. She said softly, "He was establishing deterrence." "Deterrence?" Fenglan frowned. "To me, it looks more like making enemies for no reason." Lu Juge smiled. "If my guess is correct, Drunken Immortal Tower already informed him of those 4 men's true identities. In other words, he knew this conflict was unavoidable. He simply chose the most direct way to deal with it." Fenglan lowered his voice. "There is a sword immortal behind him. Has Chu Kingdom gone insane?" The smile remained on Lu Juge's face. "Old Jiang knows about it. The 9th Tower Master knows. The Underworld knows. Cangmu Academy's main academy knows. But does anyone else know? Other than those people, everyone who learned the truth is already dead." Fenglan fell silent. Lu Juge continued softly, "You 2 belong to the Confucian tradition. Ever since what happened back then, Confucianism has nearly vanished from the Qingcang world. If you wish for it to rise again, then some ideas and concepts must change. Head Ye Xuan is the best choice the 2 of you currently have." The 2 scholars fell into thought. Lu Juge leaned back in her wheelchair. He truly intends to build Canglan Academy, and he does not want his students to do nothing but bury their heads in cultivation. That is precisely your opportunity. Mo Yuan looked at her. "And you? What is the military school planning?" "Jiangju?" Lu Juge merely smiled and said nothing. Inside Canglan Hall, the 4 sat around a table. Ye Xuan tapped his fingers against the tabletop without speaking. "Those 2 old men are not simple." Mo Yunqi suddenly spoke, then looked toward Bai Ze. "Where did you find them?" Bai Ze curled his lip. "National Scholar Lu found them for us." Mo Yunqi turned toward Ye Xuan. "Bandit Yi, what do you think?" After a moment of silence, Ye Xuan replied, "Same as always. We keep our eyes open and judge them for ourselves." Mo Yunqi nodded. "That is all we can do." Ye Xuan continued, "From now on, besides cultivating, the 4 of us will take turns teaching the students. Anji, I will leave the distribution of cultivation resources to you." Ji Anzhi nodded. Ye Xuan pointed toward Mo Yunqi and Bai Ze. "Your immediate goal is to stabilize your foundations in the Nether Passage realm, then break through to the Divine Union realm as quickly as possible. We still have far too many things to do." Mo Yunqi nodded. "Understood." Ye Xuan stood. "Within half a year, I will go to the Great Cloud Empire in Qingzhou. Within 1 year, we will travel to the Central Divine Continent and kowtow before Grandmaster. Any objections?" Mo Yunqi hesitated. "Only kowtow?" Ye Xuan shook his head. No need to think about it. We will definitely fight first and kowtow afterward. Mo Yunqi smiled bitterly. So we are fighting our way through Qingzhou first, and then heading to the central divine continent? Ye Xuan slowly clenched his fist. If this world recognizes only the strong as kings, then we will become the strong. Mo Yunqi suddenly slammed the table and shouted, Exactly, we will become strong. Damn it. Canglan Academy's main academy dares look down on us. We will make them see that we are far stronger than they think and let old Ji finally vent his anger. Bai Ze also slapped the table in agreement. Unfortunately, crack! The table shattered beneath his palm. Bai Ze. Mo Yunqi glanced toward him. What were you trying to say? Bai Ze replied. We should beat up the main academy. They have never done anything to me personally, but I still want to beat them. If nothing else, it will make me feel better. Ye Xuan nodded. Cultivate well. I hope that no matter which one of us walks farther ahead in the future, whenever we turn around, everyone else will still be there. After saying that, he left the hall. Bai Ze suddenly jumped to his feet and glared at Mo Yunqi. Go cultivate. Do not make me collect your corpse one day. Watching Bai Ze leave so decisively, Mo Yunqi ground his teeth. Damn it, stop looking down on me. Just wait! His figure vanished on the spot. Ji Anzhi was left alone in the hall, leisurely eating a chicken leg. Ye Xuan was about to head toward the rear mountain when he suddenly stopped and turned around. A pretty young woman stood behind him. Ye Xuan looked at him nervously. Both hands gripping the edge of her skirt, she did not dare speak. What is it? Ye Xuan broke the silence. Ye Xuan lowered her head and slowly approached. Cousin. Ye Xuan shook his head. Here, I am the academy head. Ye Xuan lowered her head even farther, shrinking into herself. Ye Xuan gently patted her shoulder. Here, I am the academy head and you are a student. But we are still family. Then he turned and left without another word. Ye Xuan stared after him for a long time. Slowly, a smile appeared on her face. Still family. That was already more than enough. She wiped the tears from her cheeks, feeling much lighter. Ye Xuan walked directly into the bamboo forest. The Ye clan? He no longer felt anything for that place. He would never return. He sat cross-legged among the bamboo, and sword intent rapidly spread in every direction. Sword eyes. This sword technique was also one of his killing moves. His goal was simple. Master it to the highest level possible. The 4 members of Canglan Academy continued cultivating like madmen. The royal palace of Jiang Kingdom. King Zhongyuan wore his dragon robe and smiled as a middle-aged man entered. Envoy of Chu Kingdom, is your king in good health? The man replied coldly, no. Several officials frowned at the answer. Zhang Yuan also looked displeased. The envoy continued. King of Jiang, inside Ning Kingdom's secret realm, the 3rd prince of Chu Kingdom died at the hands of a man named Ye Xuan, a student of your Canglan Academy. Your kingdom owes us a satisfactory explanation. Zhang Yuan's expression became strange. The envoy grew angry. That man dared murder a prince of our kingdom. His 9 generations should be exterminated. Zhang Yuan suddenly shook his head and interrupted him. Forgive me, but Ye Xuan is a citizen of Jiang Kingdom. It is not Chu Kingdom's place to deal with him. The middle-aged envoy narrowed his eyes. Jiang Kingdom intends to protect him? Zhang Yuan's expression turned cold as well. Yes, we intend to protect him. The envoy glared at him. For the sake of one Ye Xuan, Jiang Kingdom is willing to create conflict with Chu Kingdom? Zhang Yuan replied coldly. Jiang Kingdom has no desire to create conflict with your nation, but Ye Xuan is one of ours. We will not allow anyone to touch him. The firmness of his answer made the envoy's expression extremely ugly. Clearly, he had never expected Jiang Kingdom to protect Ye Xuan so openly. Not a single official stepped forward to object. Naturally, they all knew who Ye Xuan was. He was the miraculous young man who had personally helped destroy Cangmu Academy. Anyone with a brain could guess that the force behind him was anything but ordinary. The envoy gave a cold laugh. Very well, Jiang Kingdom, just wait. With that, he turned and left. Inside the hall, Zhang Yuan said calmly, send someone to Canglan Academy. Tell National Scholar Yi to be cautious. Chu Kingdom may try something. Yes! Chu Kingdom lay north of Jiang Kingdom and was quite far away. Because of that distance, the 2 nations had never experienced serious conflict before. Inside the royal palace of Chu Kingdom, boom! A violent explosion echoed through the hall. Then, a furious male voice roared, what a fine Jiang Kingdom! The speaker was a middle-aged man in a dragon robe. He was the ruler of Chu Kingdom, Chu Zhaoshan. Beside him stood a beautiful woman sobbing uncontrollably. Your Majesty, Honor's death cannot go unavenged. If we do nothing, how can he ever rest in peace? Chu Zhaoshan stared furiously at the envoy before him. Jiang Kingdom truly ends to protect that man? The envoy hurriedly nodded yes. The king of Jiang even spoke arrogantly, saying that if Chu Kingdom dared touch Ye Xuan, he would make us pay a terrible price. Good, very good. Chu Zhaoshan's face twisted with rage. What a fine Jiang Kingdom. For the sake of a brat like Ye Xuan, they are willing to go to war with Chu Kingdom. At that moment, an old man standing nearby suddenly spoke. Your Majesty, I fear this matter is not so simple. Chu Zhaoxin looked toward the old man. The elder lowered his voice. I investigated this Ye Xuan. He is anything but ordinary. He is young and only at the Sky Soar realm, yet he is already capable of killing Nether Passage realm experts. Moreover, among the geniuses who entered the secret realm that day, even Cam 13 of Great Cloud's Cangmu Academy died at his hands. Cam 13 of the martial ranking? The information immediately made Chu Zhaoxin's expression turn serious. The elder continued, furthermore, according to my investigation, Cangmu Academy's branch in Jiang Kingdom has already been destroyed. It is true that the Jiang royal family and Drunken Immortal Tower helped, but that does not diminish how extraordinary this young man is. Otherwise, why would those two powers support him? In my judgment, there must either be an enormous force or an extremely powerful expert standing behind him. Chu Zhaoxin gradually calmed down. Continue. The old man bowed. Cam 13 was the leading student of Cangmu Academy in Great Cloud. How could they possibly ignore his death? Yet Ye Xuan and the remaining Canglan Academy students are still alive and well. That is extremely abnormal. Some of the other geniuses who entered the secret realm also came from powerful backgrounds. Their forces sent people to Jiang Kingdom seeking revenge. Yet until now, there has been no news from any of them. Chu Zhaoxin's hands slowly clenched. Did you discover who stands behind him? The old man shook his head. Nothing. Not a single clue. Your Majesty, this person is not simple. This old man recommends that we do not provoke him. The richly dressed woman suddenly shouted angrily. Then is Honor simply supposed to die for nothing? The elder merely looked at her in silence. Chu Zhaoxin's face darkened. No one knew what he was thinking. The woman was about to speak again, but one glare from him silenced her. She could only continue sobbing quietly. After a while, Chu Zhaoxin asked the old man, You truly found nothing at all? The elder shook his head. Every spy we have was sent out. We gained nothing. Chu Zhaoxin's expression became gloomy. Suddenly, a voice came from outside the hall. How can the murder of one's son go unavenged? The ruler of Chu Kingdom turned. A black-robed man stood there. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 guards in gleaming golden armor appeared throughout the hall. The black-robed man said calmly, I come from Ning Kingdom on behalf of my king. Chu Zhaoxin frowned. Ning Kingdom? The man smiled. My king asked me to bring your majesty a question. Would Chu Kingdom like a share of Jiang Kingdom? Chu Zhaoxin sneered. You think Jiang Kingdom can be divided merely because you say so? The black-robed man smiled. What if Cangmu Academy of the Great Cloud Empire also takes action? Chu Zhaoxin narrowed his eyes. The man continued with a smile. Ye Xuan truly does have someone protecting him. However, Cangmu Academy in Great Cloud has already agreed to deal with that person. All we need to do is advance rapidly into Jiang territory and kill their people. Once the armies enter, killing Ye Xuan will be as easy as crushing an ant. Chu Zhaoxin stared at him. How do I know you are telling the truth? The black-robed man lightly crooked a finger. A wooden token appeared before Chu Zhaoxin. On its reverse were the words Great Cloud. On the front were 4 characters, Cangmu Academy. A Great Cloud Cangmu token. Chu Zhaoxin still shook his head. One token is not enough. At that moment, a white-robed elder suddenly appeared from empty space in the middle of the hall. Countless people changed expression. The black-robed man immediately bowed respectfully. Greetings, senior. This white-robed elder was none other than one of Cangmu Academy's guardians, who had previously traveled to Jiang Kingdom, intending to eliminate the mysterious woman. He was not a guardian from the Qingzhou branch. He came from Cangmu Academy's main academy in the central divine continent. His strength stood above even the peak of the 10,000 Dharma realm. The white-robed elder looked calmly at Chu Zhaoxin. We will deal with the person behind Ye Xuan. If Chu Kingdom and Tang Kingdom break Jiang Kingdom and eliminate Ye Xuan, Cangmu Academy will reward both kingdoms heavily. The hall remained silent for a long time. Then Chu Zhaoxin's decisive voice rang out. We do it. The white-robed elder nodded and disappeared. At the border of Great Cloud before Horan Hall of Cangmu Academy, the same white-robed elder silently stared at the sword made of leaves embedded in the hall. Behind him, Academy head Mu Qingshuan hesitated before speaking. This is too dangerous. Should we not stop now? The elder shook his head. We cannot. The head of Canglan Academy has already died. That young man will never let us go. With his talent, another sword immortal may appear in the future. Apologize? Cangmu Academy would rather die standing than live on its knees. If that woman refuses to let senior experts bully juniors directly, then we will simply use another method. Mu Qingshuan sighed softly. I will go to the Great Cloud Empire and request an audience with King Kaoshan. If we are doing this, then we must see it through to the end. The white-robed elder nodded. To the end. One day later, 60,000 silver-armored cavalrymen from Chu Kingdom suddenly thundered northward. 120,000 spear-bearing infantrymen of Yu Kingdom urgently assembled. At the same time, outside Two Realms City, 100,000 black armored cavalrymen surged forward like a dark flood. Inside the royal palace of Ning Kingdom, Tuoba Yan calmly examined a great cloud Cangmu token in her hand. A black-robed man stood not far away. After an unknown length of time, the ruler of Ning suddenly raised her hand and shattered the token. Ning Kingdom will never become someone else's dog. The moment Tuoba Yan finished speaking, more than 10 heavily armored guards wearing ghost masks appeared inside the hall. Each carried a broad sword. A suffocating aura of death radiated from their bodies. The black-robed man before Tuoba Yan folded his arms across his chest. "Has your majesty thought it through?" Tuoba Yan leaned back against the dragon throne. "Get out." The black-robed man nodded. "Then bear the consequences yourselves." He turned and disappeared. At that moment, an old man and an elderly woman appeared behind Tuoba Yan. The old man said heavily, "Your majesty, by doing this you have offended Cangmu Academy of the Great Cloud Empire." Tuoba Yan replied calmly, "If I followed their orders and sent troops against Jiang Kingdom, what would that make the soldiers and people of Ning Kingdom? The lives of Cangmu Academy's students are valuable, but the lives of our soldiers are not? They want our soldiers to die on their behalf? They can dream." The old man smiled bitterly. "I fear they will not give up." Tuoba Yan slowly closed her eyes. "Contact the old king. We need someone to step forward and frighten those shameless old Tuoba Fu." The elder's expression changed. He nodded. "Yes." Then he turned and left. Tuoba Fu, a legendary figure of Ning Kingdom. The elderly woman stepped toward Tuoba Yan. "Your Majesty, the Great Cloud Empire is rotting from within. King Kaoshan controls almost everything with one hand. This old woman fears King Zhou will not remain peaceful for much longer. Your Majesty should prepare as early as possible." Tuoba Yan nodded. "Our preparations have already begun. We will be ready to face whatever comes." She rose and walked toward the entrance of the hall. Looking into the sky, worry appeared in her eyes. Outside cultivation forces interfering in the wars of ordinary nations. To people like them, the lives of common citizens are no different from ants. The elderly woman lowered her head in silence. After a while, Tuoba Yan suddenly said, "Keep watching the situation in Jiang Kingdom at all times." The woman nodded and left. Jiang Kingdom, the sudden attack by 3 kingdoms threw the entire nation into turmoil. 3 kingdoms had attacked at once. In an instant, enemies seemed to surround Jiang Kingdom from nearly every direction. Anyone who claimed the people were not panicking would be lying. Inside Jiang Kingdom's royal palace, the Great Hall had exploded into chaos. Officials spoke over one another until the place was noisier than a marketplace. On the dragon throne, Zhang Yuan remained expressionless. No one knew what he was thinking. After an unknown length of time, the hall suddenly quieted. An old official rose and bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, these kingdoms launching attacks at the same time clearly cannot be targeting Jiang Kingdom alone." Zhang Yuan looked toward him. "Minister Li, are you suggesting that we arrest national scholar Yi and deliver him to Chu Kingdom as an apology?" The old man hesitated before answering. "Your Majesty, the nation must come first. One man must come second." Zhang Yuan said calmly, "The nation must come first? If there are no people, then what nation remains? Furthermore, Ye Xuan is a national scholar of Jiang Kingdom. If we hand him over to Chu Kingdom as an apology, that would be a humiliation to the entire nation. It would mean surrendering our sovereignty." He looked around the hall. "Does anyone else have an opinion?" At that moment, a silver-haired old man suddenly stood. He was extremely tall. Although his hair had turned completely white, his eyes remained bright, spirited, and razor-sharp. This man was Marshal Lin Xiao, once the most famous commander in all of Jiang Kingdom. Jiangju herself had been personally trained by him. Lin Xiao said coldly, "This old man does not understand all your complicated schemes. I know only one thing. That brat Ye Xuan once dared stand alone at Two Realms City and block 3,000 black-armored cavalrymen of Tang Kingdom. If Jiang Kingdom sacrifices a patriot like that in exchange for peace, then who will love Jiang Kingdom in the future? Who will still dare fight for this nation?" He swept his hand outward. "This old man has only one thing to say. If they want war, then we give them war. War." The entire hall fell silent. When this man spoke, no one dared oppose him. Even Zhang Yuan treated him with respect. After all, Lin Zhao had even scolded Zhang Yuan himself in the past. Lin Zhao and Zhang Yuetian were brothers who had fought through life and death together. On the dragon throne, Zhang Yuan remained silent for a moment before asking, "If we fight, how many troops can we actually deploy?" Lin Xiao thought for a moment before replying, "Jiang Kingdom has roughly 250,000 soldiers. 50,000 cannot be moved. Those troops must remain behind to maintain stability inside the kingdom. Whenever a nation falls into crisis, there will always be traitors and opportunists waiting to cause trouble. That leaves 200,000 troops. We can station half of them at Two Realms City. I will personally lead the remaining 100,000 against Chu Kingdom and Yue Kingdom." Zhang Yuan shook his head. "Not enough. Chu Kingdom and Ye Kingdom together possessed at least 200,000 soldiers. 100,000 against 200,000 was a serious disadvantage. Lin Xiao considered the matter. It does not matter. Chu Kingdom is far from us. Their army has marched a great distance, so their fighting strength will naturally decline. As for Ye Kingdom, their infantry is indeed formidable. But the soldiers of Jiang Kingdom are no weaklings either. What about Ning Kingdom? Someone suddenly stepped forward. Marshal Lin, what happens if Ning Kingdom suddenly attacks us as well? Ning Kingdom. The entire hall instantly fell silent. The strongest kingdom in the surrounding region had yet to declare its position. If Ning Kingdom also attacked Jiang Kingdom, it would be a catastrophe. There would be no need for the nations to join forces. Ning Kingdom alone would already be extremely difficult for Jiang Kingdom to resist. After a long silence, Jiang suddenly said, "I will send someone to Ning Kingdom, let me go." A voice suddenly came from nearby. Everyone turned. The newcomer was Ye Xuan. Ye Xuan. With something this serious happening in Jiang Kingdom, how could he possibly remain unaware? Moreover, he bore part of the responsibility for the current situation. Through intelligence from Drunken Immortal Tower, he had already learned that Cangmu Academy of the Great Cloud Empire stood behind these kingdoms. The underworld was almost certainly involved as well. Ye Xuan walked into the hall. "I will make the trip to Ning Kingdom." At present, Ning Kingdom was the greatest potential threat to Jiang Kingdom. But Ye Xuan had not forgotten something important. He was also a national scholar of Ning Kingdom. If he went personally, his words would carry far more weight than anyone else's. Jiang Yuan hesitated. Ning Kingdom's position is still unclear. "If you go there, I am afraid." Ye Xuan smiled. "Your Majesty, do not worry. I am capable of protecting myself. Besides, Ning Kingdom is not stupid enough to surround and kill me. Doing that would only create another enemy for themselves." Jiang Yuan thought for a moment, then nodded. "Very well." Ye Xuan nodded and turned to leave. Jiang Yuan suddenly said, "Court dismissed." Then he left the hall. The officials remained behind, still discussing the crisis noisily. Jiang Yuan made his way to the Palace of Mental Cultivation. Inside, Jiang Yueqian was sitting on the floor playing with a small black dog. Jiang Yuan said heavily, "Several kingdoms have attacked at once. Jiang Kingdom is in an extremely dangerous position." Jiang Yueqian replied calmly, "The hatred between us and Tang Kingdom has accumulated for a long time. War was inevitable. As for Ye Kingdom and Chu Kingdom, they are merely pieces being moved by Cangmu Academy of the Great Cloud Empire. Of course, that does not mean we can underestimate them." Jiang Yuan said in a deep voice, "What concerns me is Cangmu Academy of the Great Cloud Empire behind them." Jiang Yueqian remained silent for a long time before answering. "It is fine. They do not dare send 10,000 Dharma realm experts here. And even if they have guardians above that level, the person standing behind that brat Yi is enough to make them afraid." He slowly stood and looked toward the horizon. "This is a crisis for Jiang Kingdom, but it is also an opportunity. Everything now depends on Ning Kingdom's attitude." Ning Kingdom. It was the strongest nation in the surrounding region. Every other kingdom feared it. More importantly, no one truly knew just how powerful Ning Kingdom had become. Canglan Academy. After arranging a number of matters, Ye Xuan set out directly for Ning Kingdom. This time he traveled alone. After all, he was going there to negotiate, not to fight. Canglan Academy was already functioning smoothly. With Mo Yunqi, Bai Ze, and Ji Anzhi watching over it, that was enough. Aboard the flying ship, Ye Xuan took out a token. It was the token Tuoba Fu had once given him, the token of a national scholar of Ning Kingdom. Truthfully, Ye Xuan still was not accustomed to that identity. After all, he was a citizen of Jiang Kingdom. He had almost no connection to Ning Kingdom at all. Still, the title was useful. With it, speaking directly with Ning Kingdom would be much easier. As though remembering something, Ye Xuan circulated the profound energy within his body and poured it into the token. The token quickly began trembling. Then a mysterious power flowed into his arm. In an instant, the muscles of his arm swelled. He could feel an incredibly domineering force filling his right arm. It felt almost exactly like the power of the earth. But at the same time, the profound energy in his body was nearly drained dry. The Lianshu sword trembled in obvious dissatisfaction. Ye Xuan hurriedly stopped. The moment he did, the power within his arm vanished as well. He stared at the token in surprise. He had never imagined this thing could be so terrifying. He had never paid much attention to it before. This was definitely a treasure. Excitement filled him. In future battles, this item could provide tremendous assistance. He would have to study it carefully. Unfortunately, the thing consumed profound energy at a horrifying rate. How many spirit stones would he need just to activate it once? He would have to use it carefully. Ever since becoming Academy head, money seemed to disappear faster and faster. Inside the flying ship, Ye Xuan entered the World Prison Tower and continued cultivating. Whenever he had free time, he refused to waste even a single moment. Time passed slowly. 2 days later, he arrived in Ning Kingdom. The moment the flying ship stopped, Ye Xuan jumped down and headed straight for the royal palace. This time, he represented Jiang Kingdom. Because of that, the moment he entered the capital, an envoy from Jiang Kingdom came to receive him. The envoy was a thin old man. As soon as he saw Ye Xuan, he hurried forward and bowed respectfully. "Greetings, National Scholar Yi. I have already prepared a banquet. National Scholar, please." Ye Xuan shook his head and interrupted him. "Take me directly to Ning Kingdom's royal palace. Official business comes first." The thin old man did not dare say anything more. He nodded quickly and immediately led Ye Xuan toward the palace. Outside the main hall of Ning Kingdom's royal palace, Ye Xuan and the old envoy waited for more than half an hour. Still, no one came out to invite them inside. Ye Xuan felt that something was wrong. He turned toward the old man beside him. Cold sweat covered the envoy's face. I do not know either." Ye Xuan remained silent for a moment. He was about to take out his National Scholar token and enter directly when a young woman approached from the distance. She wore a long pale yellow dress. Her hair fell to her shoulders. Her figure was graceful and striking. The moment Ye Xuan saw her, his expression changed. "Yi Yu, why are you here?" The woman before him was none other than the black-clothed woman with whom he had become entangled in the forest. Tuoba Yan walked up to him without expression. Ye Xuan hurriedly forced himself to remain calm. He put on a serious face. "This is Ning Kingdom's royal palace. I have a very close relationship with the ruler of Ning Kingdom. I advise you not to cause trouble here. Otherwise, himp, you understand, right?" Tuoba Yan looked at him without expression. Beside Ye Xuan, the thin old envoy naturally recognized Tuoba Yan. Seeing that Ye Xuan clearly did not know who she was, the old man opened his mouth to introduce her. But Tuoba Yan suddenly said calmly, "Let him continue his performance." The old envoy, Ye Xuan, asked in a deep voice, "What do you want?" He was already on guard. He understood very well how powerful the woman before him was. He absolutely could not be careless. Tuoba Yan replied calmly, "What do I want? What do you think I should do?" Ye Xuan fell silent for a moment. About what happened before, Tuoba Yan suddenly attacked. Almost at the same instant, Ye Xuan threw a punch. Boom! A deafening explosion rang out. Ye Xuan was sent flying several zhang backward. The thin old envoy in the distance froze. They were fighting? What the hell was happening? Tuoba Yan looked at him. "Leave." Naturally, the old envoy did not dare disobey. He immediately turned and hurried away. As for Ye Xuan, he no longer cared. They had started fighting the moment they met. There was definitely something strange going on. Tuoba Yan looked toward Ye Xuan. "Not bad. We have not been apart for long, yet your strength has already increased considerably." Ye Xuan shook his numb fist. "You really are unreasonable. You were the one who tried to harm me first back then. Do you not believe in reason at all?" Tuoba Yan sneered. "Reason? Reason belongs to whoever is stronger. Is that not how this world works?" "You." Ye Xuan suddenly vanished. A fist tore through the air and smashed straight toward Tuoba Yan's face. She sneered. Her palm rotated gently before pressing forward. Crackle! A powerful bolt of lightning erupted from her palm. Boom! Ye Xuan was blasted 5 zhang backward. Electricity crawled madly across his arm, leaving the entire limb numb. Standing opposite him, Tuoba Yan asked calmly, "Is that all?" Ye Xuan remained silent for a breath. Then his right foot slammed into the ground. Boom! The earth beneath him exploded. He appeared directly in front of Tuoba Yan and threw another punch. This punch carried not only physical force, but battle intent. Its power was overwhelming. Tuoba Yan's expression remained unchanged. She extended her slender hand. Her entire right arm immediately began vibrating, and countless arcs of electricity spread outward like a net, wrapping around Ye Xuan's fist. Crackle, crackle. Lightning scattered everywhere. The electricity in Tuoba Yan's hand stopped Ye Xuan's punch. His battle intent and fist force were slowly being devoured by the lightning. Worse still, the electricity began spreading across the rest of his body. Ye Xuan was startled and prepared to retreat, but Tuoba Yan suddenly pressed forward, grabbed his fist and raised one slender leg, kicking directly between his legs. If that kick landed, he might never have children in this lifetime. Ye Xuan's expression changed drastically. His right foot slammed down. Boom! Sword intent erupted from his body in every direction. The instant it appeared, the electricity surrounding him shattered. Ye Xuan twisted his right arm and drove it forward. Boom! Tuoba Yan was forced several steps backward. Naturally, her deadly kick missed. The moment she stopped, Ye Xuan rushed forward again and threw another punch. One punch breaks your head. This time, he had made up his mind. The woman before him was extremely powerful. If he underestimated her even slightly, he would be courting death. Seriousness also appeared in Tuoba Yan's eyes. Ye Xuan's punch was anything but simple. She did not dare take it lightly. Her right hand slowly clenched. Electricity wrapped around her fist, while countless currents spread outward from beneath her feet. Ye Xuan's fist arrived. Tuoba Yan closed her eyes and punched. Head on. Boom! The instant their fists collided, both were thrown apart. Countless bolts of electricity exploded in every direction. Ye Xuan was once again sent flying, retreating 10 zhang. Several places along his right arm had been burned black. Tuoba Yan was also forced backward, but only by about 2 zhang. There was no doubt about it. Ye Xuan had once again fallen into the weaker position. He shook his numb arm and frowned. Something was wrong. They had been fighting for this long, yet no one had appeared. That was strange. Ye Xuan looked at Tuoba Yan. "You are not an ordinary person." Tuoba Yan replied expressionlessly. "Draw your sword." Draw his sword. Ye Xuan hesitated. Then he said, "They say one night as husband and wife creates 100 days of affection. Going this far seems a little inappropriate, does it not? Why do we not sit down and talk this through peacefully?" Tuoba Yan suddenly disappeared. A bolt of lightning flashed. This strike carried the might of heaven and earth. Its power was terrifying. Wherever it passed, the ground was reduced to ash. Ye Xuan's heart trembled. This time, he did not dare hold anything back. The Lianshu sword silently appeared in his hand. A streak of sword light flashed. Sword intent, battle intent. The two kinds of intent merged together, and behind them was sword momentum. This was not one sword decides life and death, yet its power was still terrifying. Wherever Ye Xuan passed, the ground exploded beneath him. In the next instant, sword light and lightning collided. Boom! A heaven-shaking explosion rang through the area. Two figures were blasted backward, each retreating dozens of zhang. The ground between them had been completely devastated. The Lianshu sword trembled violently in Ye Xuan's hand, sword light flickering across its blade. Opposite him, Tuoba Yan remained expressionless. She merely stared coldly at him. At that moment, soldiers suddenly rushed in from every direction and surrounded them. Ye Xuan walked toward Tuoba Yan. "You are finished now." He pulled out a token. The National Scholar token. The moment the surrounding soldiers saw it, all of them froze. Then they dropped to one knee and shouted together, "Greetings, National Scholar! National Scholar!" The status was extraordinarily high. It was nearly equal to the ruler of the kingdom. Ye Xuan nodded with satisfaction, then waved his hand. "Arrest her." The soldiers' expressions immediately became strange. Ye Xuan froze. To the token in his hand. "Does this thing not work?" The soldiers. Tuoba Yan suddenly waved her hand. The soldiers immediately withdrew. They moved extremely quickly and vanished in the blink of an eye. "Ye Xuan." Tuoba Yan walked up to him and examined him. "The rate at which your strength has increased is quite extraordinary." Ye Xuan asked heavily, "Who are you?" Tuoba Yan sneered. "Why do you not tell me?" Ye Xuan gave a bitter laugh. He was not stupid. By now, he had naturally guessed her identity. He did not know the name of Ning Kingdom's ruler, but he did know that Ning Kingdom was ruled by a woman. There could be no doubt. The woman standing before him was that ruler. Tuoba Yan. Ye Xuan's expression became complicated. This woman was the ruler of Ning Kingdom. Tuoba Yan looked at him. "You can go back now." She turned to leave. Ye Xuan thought for a moment, then hurried after her. Tuoba Yan suddenly stopped and turned. "What?" Ye Xuan said seriously. "I came here this time representing Jiang Kingdom." Tuoba Yan replied coldly. "Relax. Ning Kingdom will not send troops against Jiang Kingdom. We will not participate in this conflict." Ye Xuan immediately relaxed. Then, as though remembering something, he asked, "Do you want to do something big?" Tuoba Yan said calmly, "You want Ning Kingdom to ally with Jiang Kingdom and shield your nation from disaster?" Ye Xuan shook his head. Tuoba Yan looked at him. Ye Xuan said in a deep voice, "Several kingdoms are attacking Jiang Kingdom at once. It is a challenge. But it is also an opportunity for Jiang Kingdom. I believe you understand what I mean." Tuoba Yan looked at him. "I will not allow Ning Kingdom to be dragged into this war." Ye Xuan nodded. "I understand." Then he turned to leave. At that moment, Tuoba Yan suddenly appeared in front of him. "There is a mercenary group operating in this region. There are only 12 members, but every one of them is at the peak of the Nether Passage realm. If you have enough money, you can hire them." Ye Xuan asked seriously, "How much?" Tuoba Yan replied calmly, "At least 100 million gold coins." The corner of Ye Xuan's mouth twitched. "More than 100 million? That was damn expensive. He could not afford it." Tuoba Yan continued, "But they are worth the price. More importantly, do not let Tang Kingdom hire them first. If that happens, you will have a serious problem." Ye Xuan said heavily, "I do not have the money." Tuoba Yan looked at him. "You can borrow it." "Borrow?" Ye Xuan froze. "From whom? You?" Tuoba Yan said calmly. "Borrowing from me is not impossible, but I require collateral." She looked at Ye Xuan. "The treasure that allows you to absorb the power of the earth is still on you, is it not?" "The power of the earth. The Tao rule." Ye Xuan immediately became alert. This woman had her eyes on his Tao rule. Not a chance. He replied calmly, "I have no idea what you are talking about. If Ning Kingdom has no intention of joining the war, then I will take my leave." He turned and left. Tuoba Yan watched him coldly without speaking. At that moment, an old man and an elderly woman appeared behind her. The old man said in a deep voice, "Those people are preparing a major move. We do not yet know exactly what it is, but one thing is certain. Jiang Kingdom will suffer heavily this time." Tuoba Yan slowly closed her eyes. Send every spy under your command out. I want complete information at all times. The old man nodded, understood. Then he turned and left. At that exact moment, Ye Xuan, who had already departed, suddenly came back. Tuoba Yan stared at him in surprise. Ye Xuan walked up to her, hesitated, then asked quietly, You are not, are you? Tuoba Yan, she vanished. Boom! A figure flew dozens of zhang through the air. It was Ye Xuan. He crashed heavily into the ground, creating a deep crater. Tuoba Yan's face had turned livid. She was about to attack again when Ye Xuan scrambled to his feet and ran. His speed was astonishing. He disappeared almost instantly. Seeing him flee faster than a rabbit, Tuoba Yan suddenly laughed. She had become so angry that she found it funny. Pregnant? Of course the question mattered to her, but in truth, she was not pregnant. At that moment, Ye Xuan suddenly came back again. The smile on Tuoba Yan's face instantly turned cold. Ye Xuan kept a safe distance. He rubbed his aching chest and said, I will become a sword immortal. Tuoba Yan replied calmly, What does that have to do with me? Ye Xuan said sincerely, If I become a sword immortal, does that not mean you slept with a sword immortal? Tuoba Yan narrowed her eyes. Do you want to die? Ye Xuan kept a serious expression. Am I wrong? Tuoba Yan stared at him for a long time. Sword immortal? I do not know whether you will ever become a sword immortal, but I know you will definitely become a shameless immortal. Ye Xuan? Tuoba Yan stopped speaking and turned away. After several steps, however, she paused. Whether you become a sword immortal is not important. As long as a man has ambition, values loyalty, and understands righteousness, I will respect him even if he never becomes a sword immortal. With that, she strode away. Ye Xuan stood where he was for a long time. Then he finally turned and left. After receiving Tuoba Yan's answer, Ye Xuan finally breathed a sigh of relief. As long as Ning Kingdom did not act, Jiang Kingdom had not yet been driven into a true dead end. Standing before the city gate, Ye Xuan looked into the distance. The actions of these kingdoms were not aimed only at Jiang Kingdom. They were also aimed at him, and at Canglan Academy. He knew Cangmu Academy and the underworld did not want to let him grow. Fortunately, the enemy did not dare send experts above the 10,000 Dharma realm. Even so, Ye Xuan did not dare underestimate them. His battle with Tuoba Yan had taught him something important. There were terrifyingly powerful people even within the Divine Union realm. He had not used his full strength against her. But neither had Tuoba Yan. If the two of them truly fought to the death, Ye Xuan was not confident he could defeat her. Of course, he was not easy prey either. Ye Xuan pushed those thoughts aside and prepared to leave. At that moment, a hunched old man passing beside him suddenly pulled a dagger from his sleeve and slashed horizontally toward Ye Xuan's abdomen. Fast, extremely fast, like a venomous snake striking its prey. There was almost no time to react. Ye Xuan could not evade, so he did not try. The instant the old man's dagger cut across his abdomen, Ye Xuan's fist smashed into the man's head from both sides. Boom! The old man's head exploded. Ye Xuan staggered several steps backward. A wound had opened across his abdomen and blood poured from it. At that exact moment, several cold flashes appeared without a sound. One aimed at his throat, one at the back of his neck, another at his thigh. Every attack targeted a vital point. There was nowhere to retreat. Ye Xuan had no intention of retreating anyway. He opened his right hand. The Liangshu sword silently appeared. He swept it horizontally. A sword cry rang out. Boom! Every cold flash shattered. Several vague shadows appeared dozens of zhang away. They did not continue attacking. Instead, they turned and disappeared. One failed strike, immediate retreat. Ye Xuan did not pursue them. Their speed was too great, and they had concealed their auras. He could not catch them. Assassins. Ye Xuan's expression darkened. There was no need to guess. These were undoubtedly assassins sent by the underworld. They were extremely professional. Their methods were ruthless. If one strike failed, they immediately fled. If assassins like these targeted Jiang Kingdom's generals and soldiers, or the students of Canglan Academies, it would become a disaster. After a moment of silence, Ye Xuan turned and re-entered the city. About 15 minutes later, he left again and headed beyond the walls. He moved rapidly through the vast mountains. Before long, he reached a roadside pavilion. A man was lying lazily inside with his legs crossed, turning two black iron balls in one hand. Ye Xuan entered the pavilion. The man glanced at him. Blind? A powerful wave of sword intent and sword momentum suddenly enveloped him. In an instant, cracks spread throughout the pavilion. The man narrowed his eyes. Sword Dao Grandmaster. Ye Xuan sat down nearby. I want to discuss a job. The man replied calmly. Do you know our rules? Ye Xuan nodded. He took out a black card. The moment the man saw it, he could not help examining Ye Xuan again. This black card was the highest level guest card issued by Drunken Immortal Tower. In other words, it represented status. After a moment of silence, the man stood. Follow me. Ye Xuan followed him. Under the man's guidance, they crossed a mountain and entered a valley. Several dozen houses stood there, almost like a small village, but the place was eerily quiet. There seemed to be no one around at all. The man led Ye Xuan to a well. A young woman was drawing water. She appeared to be around 20 years old. Her upper body was covered by a rough cloth shirt. She wore fitted rough cloth trousers below, with a hemp rope tied around her waist. Her feet were bare. The man spoke respectfully. "Big sister, we have business." The woman turned toward Ye Xuan. At the same time, Ye Xuan used the sword eyes to perceive her appearance. She was not breathtakingly beautiful, but she was pleasant to look at. The woman placed the bucket down and sat on a stone. "What kind of business?" Ye Xuan replied, "Protecting people." She shook her head. "We only kill people." Ye Xuan said, "There is not much difference." The woman looked up at him. "Protecting someone is harder than killing someone." Ye Xuan fell silent. After a while, she suddenly said, "Of course, there is nothing money cannot solve. The price goes up, at least 80 million gold coins. If you agree to that, we can continue talking." Ye Xuan replied, "Agreed." The woman pulled a flatbread from inside her clothes and took a bite. "Who is the enemy?" Ye Xuan answered. "The Great Cloud Realm, the Underworld, and Cangmu Academy." Her expression did not change. "Double the price." Ye Xuan nodded. "No problem." She took another bite of the flatbread. "How many days? How many people?" Ye Xuan thought for a moment. "Let us stop calculating it that way. I will pay you 200 million gold coins. For 1 month you work for me. Whoever I tell you to protect, you protect. Whoever I tell you to kill, you kill. How does that sound?" The woman looked at him. "Half a month." Ye Xuan shook his head. 1 month, and I will personally give you an Earth rank martial technique." "An Earth rank martial technique." The woman fell silent. Ye Xuan said nothing. The valley became quiet. After an unknown amount of time, she finally spoke, "Agreed." Ye Xuan nodded. "Then I want to see your strength." The woman looked at him. "You do not trust us?" Ye Xuan shook his head. "I merely want to see what I am paying for. If I am spending this much money, surely I am allowed to look." The woman turned toward the man beside her. He nodded. Then he vanished. At that exact moment, Ye Xuan suddenly drew his sword, spun around, and slashed. One sword decides life and death. He used the technique together with sword intent and sword momentum. Boom! The man was immediately blasted dozens of zhang backward and crashed into a wall. The wall collapsed with a thunderous roar and buried him. A moment later, he crawled out. Blood was already flowing from the corner of his mouth. Ye Xuan held his sword angled toward the ground and looked at the woman nearby. "Is that all?" The woman stared at him without expression. "A sword Dao Grandmaster. Is that supposed to be impressive?" Ye Xuan was about to answer when a figure suddenly rushed at him from behind. His eyes narrowed. He drove his sword into the ground, spun around, and punched. "One punch breaks your head." Boom! An explosion rang out. Ye Xuan retreated around 10 steps. The bald man in front of him was forced back dozens of zhang before finally stopping. The bald man stared at Ye Xuan. His right arm was trembling. Ye Xuan turned toward the woman again. "Is that all?" She took another bite of her flatbread. "Sword Dao Grandmaster. Martial Dao Grandmaster." She nodded and finally tucked the flatbread away. At that moment, another man walked over. "Big sister, there is no need for you to act against him." Ye Xuan turned. A bare-chested man was approaching. He carried a long spear in his right hand. The shaft was enormously thick and heavy, too large to wrap one hand around completely. The man walked up to Ye Xuan. He wasted no words. He thrust the spear. The attack was overwhelmingly domineering. Spear momentum, spear intent, and the man himself had already reached the Nether Passage realm. A genuine expert had appeared. Ye Xuan pulled his sword from the ground and slashed forward. Again. One sword decides life and death. But this time, it also carried sword intent and battle intent. 2 forms of intent. The sword descended. Boom! The long spear trembled violently. Then both the man and his weapon were blasted dozens of zhang backward. The instant his feet touched the ground, the earth beneath them split apart. The spear-wielding man stared at Ye Xuan. Sword and martial dual cultivation. Ye Xuan did not answer him. Instead, he looked toward the rough-clothed woman in the distance. "Forgive me for speaking plainly. You are not worth the price." He put away his sword and turned to leave. The people who had fought him were not weak. In fact, they were powerful. But they were not worth that much money. Ye Xuan was willing to spend. He was not willing to waste. He had taken only a few steps when the rough-clothed woman suddenly vanished behind him. Ye Xuan spun and slashed immediately. He did not underestimate her in the slightest. He used his full strength. But halfway through the strike, his sword suddenly stopped. At some point, one of the woman's fingers had already pressed into the hollow beneath his arm. A burst of intense pain immediately spread through his entire body, and that was only the beginning. Her finger suddenly became a palm strike aimed directly at his throat. Fast, extremely fast. Ye Xuan tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and tried to retreat. But at some point, the woman's bare foot had already stepped down on the top of his right foot. That one step stopped his retreat completely. At the same time, her palm struck Ye Xuan's throat. Boom! Ye Xuan was blasted 10 zhang backward. Every step he took cracked the ground beneath him. The rough-clothed woman did not continue attacking. She looked at him. Body, martial arts, and sword. Triple cultivation. Ye Xuan was about to speak when an afterimage suddenly flashed from the distance. It moved with terrifying speed. In the blink of an eye, it reached Ye Xuan. Then countless afterimages swallowed him. Boom, 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 boom! A series of dull impacts rang out without pause. With every impact, Ye Xuan was forced another step backward. In only a few breaths, he had been driven back 20 zhang. The moment he finally stopped, the attacker in front of him vanished. At some point, a thin man had appeared behind the rough-clothed woman in the distance. He was extremely skinny, almost like a stick, but his eyes were frighteningly sharp. Ye Xuan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Then he looked toward the 8 people gathered around the rough-clothed woman. The corner of his mouth slowly lifted. These people were all genuine talents. If they could join Canglan Academy. The moment that thought appeared, Ye Xuan opened his right hand. The Lianshu sword disappeared. In its place appeared the big black sword. The ground beneath everyone suddenly trembled violently. A terrifying surge of the power of the earth gathered around Ye Xuan. At that moment, the expressions of the 8 people around the rough-clothed woman all became solemn.